Yesterday saw a surprise release of a new Unearthed Arcana based around Arcane Subclasses, and I thought it would be fun to have a look at them and review them and give them my thoughts. Among the 9 classes that I believe are there, 2 of them are brand new, one for Monk, one for Sorcerer, and we're seeing some updates to a lot of Wizard classes alongside that, as well as another update to the Hexblade, which we only got a couple of months ago anyway. Because I have started reviewing things, it is time for the transition. It has happened, we are in it, we are ready. Look at this. Goodness, I miss the D&D Beyond formatting. Obviously, this is Unearthed Arcana. Things will change as we go on. I'm not 100% sure what book this would go with. I'm presuming it could possibly end up in the Lorwyn book, but then we saw the Hexblade a while ago, and I don't know, man. Either way, we're clicking things off with the Arcana domain Cleric. I really like that they give you the updates in a little box, just in case you're really familiar with the class. I'm going to kind of speed through the classes that have already been, so we'll be talking about all of the features, but I'm most interested in the 2 new classes. But yeah, let's take a look, shall we? The Arcana domain updates. Arcane domain spells have been revised. Arcane Initiate now gives you expertise in Arcana. Good. Modify Magic is a new feature that replaces Arcane Abjuration. Dispelling Magic now lets you use Dispel Magic and also triggers when you remove a condition from a creature. And Arcane Mastery now lets you change the wizard spells you choose. Let's take a look at the spell list then. Detect Magic, Magic Missile, Magic Weapon, Nistor's Magic Aura, Counterspell, Dispel Magic, Arcane Leomon's Secret Chest, Bigby's Hand, and Teleportation Circle are all very good spells, undoubtedly. It's a solid list. It feels weird that Fireball's not there, but I guess that just goes to show how many wizard players are pyromaniacs instead of true wizards or something. Arcane Initiate, as they mentioned, it gives you Arcana if you don't already have it, proficiency in Arcana if you don't already have it, and then it gives you expertise if you do. Expertise is great, we love to see it, and it also gives you 2 wizard cantrips of your choice. You can change one of these cantrips every time you gain a Cleric level, which is great. Level 3 also gives us Modify Magic, which lets you use your Channel Divinity to alter your spells when you cast them. Fortifying Spell lets you basically give more hit points to someone. This is good if you're giving them a buff, because it also means you can throw them 2d8 temporary hit points plus your Cleric level. It also means that if you're healing with someone with Healing Word, for example, they get 10 health on top of that as well, which is great. And then Tenacious Spell makes it so that whenever you cast a spell that requires a saving throw, the creature that's doing so has to roll 1d6 and they get a penalty to the saving throw. Oh no, you get to roll the d6, but nevertheless, everything else is true. Those are both solid things. I'm pretty happy with that. Level 6 lets you cast Dispel Magic as a bonus action whenever you restore HP to something or end a condition on that creature. This is great if you're dealing with lots of curses and things of that sort. It has to be Dispel Magic on the creature that you're casting it on though, and you can only do this a number of times equal to your modifier, wisdom modifier. It's also free, you're not expending a spell slot there, so it's a nice way of getting an extra spell in without using a spell slot, which we love to see. Free spells is good. And then Arcane Mastery at level 17 lets you choose 4 wizard spells, one from level 6, 7, 8, and 9. You then always have those spells prepared, and whenever you gain a cleric level, you can replace one of these spells with another wizard spell of the same level. It's worth noting, obviously, you've only got 3 more levels after that, presumably, which means you can only replace 3 of those. So you do need to be fairly set in stone about those, but as I'm sure many DMs would, I would let you be a little flexible with that. The Arcana domain is a really interesting cleric. It's a nice splicing of 2 of the best spellcasters in the game, and I do think this fits pretty well. It's a shame you don't get those wizard spells until you're level 17. That's really, really far into it, but I can see why they did it. Next is the Arcane Archer. I love the concept of the Arcane Archer. I've not really loved the execution of the Arcane Archer, and I've had a quick look through ahead of this, and I'm not sure that's going to change particularly. The Arcane Archer updates. Arcane Archer lore now gives you proficiency in both Arcana and Nature. Arcane Shot has been redesigned. It lets you use any weapon with the ammunition property. That means you can use guns, and you can use the Arcane Shot die it grants for extra damage in the options you select. So you're doing extra damage, which is also good. Ever Ready Shot is available at a lower level. Improved Shots, Powerful Shots, and Masterful Shots are features that improve your Arcane Shot die. Cool. Level 3, yeah. So Arcane Archer lore, you get Druidcraft or Prestidigitation. If you don't choose Prestidigitation, I just assume you're playing wrong. I'm obviously not actually judging you, but that would be the one I'm going for. And then skills, as I said, you get Arcana and Nature, but if you already have one or both, you can choose other proficiencies, which is good. We like the flexibility there. Level 3, you've got Arcane Shots too. You get 2 of these, and then as you level up, level 7, 10, 15, and 18, you can choose new ones. The Arcane Shot options are Banishing Shot, you do psychic damage and banish a creature. Beguiling Shot is psychic damage and charm a creature. Bursting Shot is an AoE. Enfeebling Shot is necrotic damage, and it gives them the poison condition, and it really messes them up. with attack rolls, which is great. Grasping Shot is slashing damage, and it also restrains them, which is solid. Piercing Shot is a line attack instead of a normal attack. Seeking Shot, you just shoot things and they have to make a dex save. And then Shadow Shot blinds them, which is they're all solid options, right? But that is also where the interest in this class is. The rest of the class is quite dull. Once per turn, when you're using a ranged attack using a weapon with an ammunition property, you can apply your Arcane Shot options to that shot. You decide to do so when you hit a creature and deal damage to it unless the option doesn't involve an attack roll. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, so you really want to be all in on defense for this, otherwise you're going to be really lacking in that ability, but you do gain all of those uses on a short and a long rest, which is good. Your Arcane Shot die starts as D6, but it goes up as you level up, and then saving throws are DC 8 plus int plus prof. Level 7 Curving Shot lets you basically re-roll as a bonus action to attack a different creature within your range if you miss. You also get Ever Ready Shot, which lets you have one expended use of your Arcane Shot if you have no uses when you roll initiative, which is boring but fine. And then level 10 you get a D8, level 15 it's a D10, and level 18 it's a D12. That's an incredibly boring progression. It's just uninspiring, right? You basically get the whole of the class at level 3 and then it just gets slightly better. And while I appreciate that's sort of what subclasses do, there's no way that there isn't a more interesting take on this. But it's UA, it'll likely change before it's released, so we can hope. Next is the monk. I adore monks, and also as somebody with a few tattoos, those are just the ones you can see. I'm also like, I've got tattoos. I would be really excited about this class had I not already read it. I love the concepts within this, and I love the core idea of gaining tattoos and that being your power and stuff, even though it immediately calls to mind the mattoo artist thing that Jacob from XP to level 3 talked about. But here we are. Yeah, so level 3, you gain tattoos. They can look whatever you look like, whatever you want. Basically, that's entirely up to you. Flavor is free, as we all know, and the saving throws for any of them, if there are any, is wisdom modifier +8 plus prof. So standard stuff. When you finish a long rest, you can reshape one of them. So you can change one of them every time you finish a long rest, which I really like. I am a big fan of being able to change your mind. It's very hard to know the specific ways you're going to be playing a character, both in and out of combat, and knowing what you're going to be choosing ahead of time is tricky. So being able to do this kind of thing I think is really important and kind of integral for good subclass design. Level 3 is the only level where you get to choose 2 tattoos instead of 1. These are the beast tattoos. The bat gives you dancing lights, and whenever you expend 1 focus point, choose patient defense or step of the wind, you gain blind sight within 10 feet for a minute. That's not bad. Butterfly gives you the light cantrip, and you can expend 1 focus point to cast Silent Image. No material components there, which is good. I wonder if this was literally based on the mattoo artist thing, because that was a key part of the... It's probably not. Maybe I'm overthinking it. It just feels really similar. I mean, it's not a surprise that there would be Jacob fans, wizards, right? So it makes sense. Anyway, Chameleon gives you minor illusion, and you can cast Disguise Self with 1 focus point. Crane gives you guidance, which is incredible, and when you miss with a flurry of blows attack, you have advantage on the remaining strikes. That's really good if you're unlucky, and I am bad at dice. Horse gives you the message cantrip, as well as 1 focus point to cast Longstrider. Spider gives you mending, and also you give disadvantage when you hit with flurry of blows. And Tortoise gives you spare the dying, and you can spend 1 focus point to cast false life without material components once again. So my choices here would pretty comfortably be Crane and Tortoise, because guidance is always good, also advantage is good, and spare the dying is solid, but more importantly false life is really useful for monks because they can be a little squishy sometimes. Celestial tattoo, you can choose Comet. You only get 1 of these. Sorry. You can use Comet, which is 2 focus points to cast Fine Traps, which is very boring and probably not going to be taken very often. Crescent Moon, 2 focus points to cast Misty Step, probably the best one even without reading the rest. Eclipse is 2 points to cast Invisibility, solid but not amazing. And Sunburst is 2 points to cast Lesser Restoration. That's good if you don't have a Cleric in the party, right? Or another class that can cast Lesser Restoration. Misty Step is just good, even though it's not as good for monks because they already have so much movement and so many ways to disengage without getting opportunity attacks, but it's still Misty Step, right? Invisibility is only good for until you make an attack, and monks make so many attacks that it just doesn't feel all of that worthwhile. Maybe if it gave you invisibility for a turn, it would feel better, but then it would negate some of the ones from the previous set. So level 11 is Nature Tattoo. You can choose Okay, so basically, Mountain lets you get resistance to acid as well as advantage on con saves. Storm is lightning and dex saves. Volcano is fire and strength saves. And Wave is cold and wisdom saves. It's not bad, but you have to do it as a magic action, which means it takes your whole action and it costs 3 focus points. And while at level 11, that's not that bad, you also can only choose one of these, which means you can't flip between them in a combat if you need to. It's fine. Monster 17. Level 17 is the monster tattoo, which you can have the beholder, fly speed of 10 feet and can hover, and you can spend 3 points to cast counterspell. Counterspell is good on a monk. It's funny. Blink Dog, when you expend a focus point to cast Patient Defense, you can expend 3 focus points to cast Blink immediately after that bonus action. That's not bad. Displace a Beast, when you expend a focus point to use Flurry of Blows or Step of the Wind, you can spend 2 points to cast Mirror Image. That's really, really good. Even though at level 17 there's a lot of creatures that can see through the mirror image, that's still solid. And then Guardian Naga, when you would be reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, your hit points instead change to a number equal twice your monk level, which theoretically would be 34 here. Tricky otherwise to be level 17 monk. And once you use this benefit, you can't do it again until a long rest. So Displace a Beast and Guardian Naga are the ones that kind of draw me in, but obviously it depends on the way you play. Fly speed on a monk is odd anyway, because a lot of people take the flying species for the monk, because it fits well, but yeah. I just wish they'd give the monk spell slots if they're going to be doing spell monk. Like, make a wizard monk, make a cleric monk, make a druid monk, or a paladin monk, or whatever it is that you're going to do, but just give them spell slots instead of making it all about the focus points. It's such a strange way of doing things. I really want to like this subclass. I love the idea of gaining tattoos and magical power as you level up. It's fun. It fits into a lot of how I like to do silly RP things. And as I said, I'm covered in tattoos, and I've also been doing martial arts most of my life. So like, this one should speak to me, and instead I find it just underwhelming, really. But it's UA. This is the first time we've seen it. Hopefully it changes as it goes along. The other new class is next, which is the subclass, is the Ancestral Sorcery Sorcerer. Basically, dad, granddad, grandma, your great-grandma. Somewhere along the line, one of them was real powerful, which is just sort of how sorcerers are anyway, but hey. At level 3, you can add your charisma modifier to your intelligence checks. You also get proficiency with Arcana, History, Investigation, Nature, or Religion, which is really, really solid. It lets you be a wizardy sorcerer, which is cool. Ancestral Spells gives you a new spell list. You get Command, Guidance, Locate Object, Protection from Evil and Good, Resistance, Spiritual Weapon, and then you get Magic Circle, Spirit Guardians, then Divination, Locate Creature, then Legend Lore, and Yolande's Regal Presence. This is a fun spell list. It is an interesting mix between Cleric and Wizard in a very strange way, and it kind of fits this class into this weird space where it's sort of 3 of the best spellcasters in a trench coat, which is not a bad place to be for obvious reasons, but it does mean it feels a little less original in my opinion. But at level 3 is Visage of the Ancestor. When you use your innate sorcery, you get a form that relates to your ancestor, whether it's literally what they look like or some kind of symbolic creature. You have advantage on any ability check you make as part of the influence action, so you can persuade and intimidate people better, basically, while in combat, because if you're using innate sorcery out of combat, I have to wonder what kind of game you're playing. Level 6 is Superior Spell Disruption. You always have the counterspell and Dispel Magic spells prepared. I mean, they're both great spells, so that's great. The real source, though, is the rest of the paragraph. When your innate sorcery feature is active, you can cast each spell without expending a spell slot. If you cast Counterspell this way, the target has disadvantage on its Constitution saving throw, and if you cast Dispel Magic in this way, you have advantage on your ability checks to end ongoing spells. Once you cast either without a spell slot, you must finish a long rest before you can cast the spell in this way again. This is using the new version of Counterspell, which I don't use in my games, and my group doesn't use in our games in general. We don't like the way it works. But Counterspell is still Counterspell, and Dispel Magic is still Dispel Magic, so being able to do them for free is solid, as it turns out. Not a huge shock. Level 14 is Ancestral Majesty. Your Ancestor's Visage evokes... Is it Visage? It's Visage, right? Evokes awe and dread. When your innate sorcery feature is active, you are surrounded by an aura in a 5-foot emanation. Whenever a creature you can see enters the emanation or ends its turn there, you can force it to make a charisma saving throw. On a failed save, the target has the prone condition or has the frightened condition until the end of your next turn. The creature makes a save only once per turn. Basically, so you're just so handsome or terrifying to look at that you literally knock people off their feet, or you make them run away. Those are both really solid conditions. There's really no downside here. That's decent. Steady Spellcaster also means that taking damage can't break your concentration on sorcerer spells. So this spellcaster probably doesn't need Resilient Constitution or Warcaster, but only if you know you're going to level 14, and you still have to struggle up until that point. So you're feeling pretty good at con saves anyway. I think I'm wrong. Actually, never mind. Yeah, I mean, that's really strong, but it negates features. Colby will hate that. He's never going to level 14 in Sorcerer. Colby's making you a fighter to begin with anyway, it doesn't matter. Level 18 is Ancestor's Ward. Your Ancestor's protection redirects harmful magic away from you, while your innate sorcery feature is active, you gain advantage on saving throws against spells. Once during your use of innate sorcery, you can choose it to succeed when you fail. I mean, that's a really solid subclass. I don't really have much to say outside of that. That just seems very, very solid. It's interesting. It's odd because all sorcerers are related to an Ancestor that has magical power. That's kind of the point. Like, it's bloodline based, but it's a fun one. Could be really strong. Honestly, that could be really, really strong. Next up is the much maligned Hexblade, which has been somewhat made pointless by the updates to Pact of the Blade in 2024 rules, so let's see what they've done. So Hexblade Patron update, Hexblade spells have been revised, Hexblade's Curse has returned as a feature in its own right, but can also loop through spells that place a curse on creatures such as Bestow Curse and Hex. Hungering Hex has been moved to this level, and a Cursed Shield is a new feature. Unyielding Will is a new feature that grants you benefits while maintaining concentration on spells. Malign Brutality is a new feature that gives you additional benefits, and your Hindering Curse has been moved here. Armor of Hexes no longer has limited uses and scales with your Warlock level. Maybe I'm misremembering what Armor of Hexes is, but that sounds absurd. And then Masterful Hex now increases the power and usability of the updated Hexblades Curse features. That's a lot of changes to a class they already changed. Some of that is kind of undoing some of the stuff they've done, I think, but that's pretty cool. Okay, the Hexblade spells. You get Arcane Vigor, Hex, Shield, Wrathful Smite, Bestow Curse, Conjure Barrage, Freedom of Movement, Staggering Smite, Animate Object, and Steel Wind Strike. Steel Wind Strike is such a good... Steel Wind Strike is the one where you animate teleport around stuff. It's great. That's a pretty solid list of spells. I cannot remember what Arcane Vigor does, and because this is in a PDF, I cannot just highlight over it. See, we're missing D&D Beyond here. But all in all, that's a fairly solid spell list, I think. I mean, you got Shield and you got Smite spells, so you're doing it right straight away. Right. Level 3, so this is the revised Hexblades Curse feature. As a bonus action, choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. The target is cursed for 1 minute, during which you gain the benefits below. The curse ends early if you use it again, dismiss it or die. Classic. You can use this equal to your charisma modifier, you gain all uses on a long rest. When you cast a spell using a spell slot that curses a target, you can use your Hexblade Curse as part of the casting of that, instead of taking a bonus action. So if you bestow Curse, or if you just cast Hex, you can also do Hexblade Curse. That's pretty cool, right? That's a more streamlined version of it, and hopefully makes it slightly less setup heavy, I guess. Hungering Hex, when the target cursed by your Hexblade's Curse drops to 0 hit points, you regain hit points equal to 1d8 plus your charisma modifier. It's not bad, pointless at later levels. And then a Cursed Shield, while you aren't wearing armor or wearing a shield, you gain a +2 bonus to AC while you're within 10 feet of the target cursed by your Hexblade's Curse. Wouldn't you be wearing armor or using a shield? You're not a blade singer, right? And your AC isn't getting boosted by anything else here. I don't think that's enough to make your AC high enough to really justify getting close to creatures at all. So yeah, I don't love that one at all. There's also no space in between the within 10. It's a me issue. Level 3 also gets you Unyielding Will. When you succeed on a saving throw to maintain concentration, each creature of your choice in a 10-foot emanation originating you takes 2d6 necrotic damage. You can't do this until your next turn. In addition, when you fail a saving throw to maintain concentration, you can choose to succeed instead, and you get temp hit points. You can only do that once per long rest. Those are both really cool. Again, so that's encouraging you to be... So is it temp health based instead of armor based? Is that what they're going for? That's what I did with my touch-based wizard. Level 6 is Malign Brutality. Harrowing Hex, after you cast a level 1 spell, you can't cast a level 1 plus spell. Like, I get what it's saying there, but that's not a thing you can do. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't say Warlock spells, so I guess if you're multi-classing as a sorcerer or something, or a bard, then this fits pretty well. Anyway, when you're doing that, you can make an attack with your weapon as a bonus action. It's fine. When you hit the target cursed by your Hexblade's Curse with an attack roll, the target has disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes before the start of your next turn. That's not bad. And when the target of your Hexblade Cursed ends its turn within 30 feet or further from you, you can move up to your speed straight towards the target. It used to be a teleport, right? That's objectively worse. Armor of Hexes. When you take damage from your target cursed by your Hexblade's Curse, you can take a reaction to reduce the damage taken by an equal amount Warlock level. Didn't you used to just be able to just stop the damage if you rolled like a 5 or 6 on a d6? I'm pretty sure that's what they used to be. A friend of mine plays a Hexblade Warlock in one of our campaigns. We haven't played in that campaign for about 5 months, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. I think I'm over-exaggerating how long it's been. That's really not the point. At level 14 is Masterful Hex. You get a crit on 19 or a 20 against Hexblade's Curse target. When you do damage to the target cursed by a Hexblade's Curse, you can cause your curse to explode with synergy energy. There's too many words. Curse is not a real word anymore. The target and each creature of your choice in a 30-foot emanation originating from the target take 3d6 necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage. It's your choice, and the speed is reduced by 10 feet until you start your next turn. Once you use this benefit, you can't do it until a long rest or you expend a packed slot. I guess that's good if you're doing... Man, I do not know how I feel about that. I mean, technically, you can hex a creature that's ages away, use an Eldritch Blast or a bow to hit them, and then still make that, which is pretty cool. It doesn't consume the curse. It doesn't say it consumes the curse. So, I mean, that's fun, but it takes a packed slot. At level 14, you've got some damn good spells. And then you get a Hex Restoration. You regain 1 expended use of Hexblade's Curse when you finish a short rest or use your magical cunning feature. It's really odd to me that they're kind of... It feels like they're swinging around wildly to figure out how to make the Hexblade Warlock work when it was one of the most beloved ones previously. And I appreciate a lot of that was because of attacking with the charisma. But it's still odd to me that it just feels like they can't quite get their finger on this correctly. I don't know how Hexblade players will feel about it as a concept. I still think the Accursed Shield is just not enough at all to justify anything, really, to justify being a melee character. Some aspects of this class really want you to be like in melee, but then you're still using a Warlock's health die and AC, so it just doesn't feel like it's quite doing enough unless you're constantly casting Armor of Aggie. On to the 4 wizard subclass now. Okay, Conjurer. Wizard update. Benign Transposition is now available at a lower level, and the new Distant Transposition and Quick Teleportation features improve it. Conjuration Savant now gives you free conjuration spells, and Durable Summons is now available at a lower level, and the temp hit points it grants are based on your wizard level. This is the Summoner Wizard, which is fun. Benign Transposition at level 3. As a magic action, you teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see, or you can choose a space within range that is occupied by a medium or smaller creature. If the creature is willing, you can swap. It's fun. Conjuration Savant. You choose 2 wizard spells for the Conjuration School, each of which must be no higher than level 2, and add them to your spellbook. In addition, when you ever gain new level of spell slots in the class, you can add 1 wizard spell from the Conjuration School to your spellbook for free. Level 6 is Distant Transposition. The range of your Benign Transposition extends to 60 feet, and you get your use of it back on a short or a long rest instead of just a long rest, or expending a second level spell slot. 2-level spell slot? Goodness gracious. Durable Summons is also at level 6. When you cast a conjuration spell to summon or create another creature using a spell slot, that creature gains temp hit points equal to twice your wizard level and your lizard level. Good to know. Level 10 is Focused Conjuration. Taking damage can't break your concentration on conjuration spells. That's really solid. You're probably not playing this class in melee, so that feels better than the Ancestral Sorcerer, which sort of felt like it wanted you to be a melee regarding the concentration stuff. So you might not be taking Warcaster with this class anyway, especially because theoretically these books are coming with more feats, and it feels like there are so many correct choices for casters that more feats would be lovely. Level 14, you get Quick Transposition. You can use Benign Transposition as a bonus action, and you can also use it as a reaction when a creature makes a roll against you, but only to swap places with a willing creature. So basically you can swap with your tank, which is really funny. It's incredibly funny. I really like the idea of you going to hit this weedy little wizard, and then suddenly there's just a paladin with like +2 plate armor and a massive tower shield in front of you. The horror. Seems really, really solid. Enchanter is the creepy wizard, as we all know. Enchantment Savant now gives you free enchantment slots. That's going to work the same as the Conjuration Savant, so I'm not going to cover that. Enchanting Talker and Vexing Movement and new features replace Hypnotic Gaze and give the wizard new option to use in and out of combat. Reflecting Charm replaces the former Instinctive Charm feature. Instead of compelling an attacker to choose a new target, the feature now reliably reduces the damage you take and might harm the attacker. Less interesting. And Bolstering Belief is a new feature to aid yourself and allies in many situations. So, level 3, you get Enchanting Talker. Whenever you make a charisma check, you gain a bonus equal to your int modifier. This is the inverse of the Ancestral Sorcerer. You also gain proficiency in one of these skills: deception, intimidation, or persuasion. Enchantment Savant, like I said, I'm not going over that. The Savant features all work the same, no point. Vexing movement: after you cast an enchantment spell using an action and a spell slot, you can also take both the disengage and dash actions as a bonus action. It's a monk! You can use this bonus action equal to a number of times equal to your int modifier. Reflecting Charm: when a creature within 30 feet of you that you can see hits you with an attack roll, you take a reaction to reduce the damage you take by half, round down, and you can force the attacker to make a wisdom save to take damage. I just think that's substantially less interesting than making them attack someone else, because it is substantially less interesting than making them attack somebody else. I don't think that's an especially hot take. I could be wrong. I frequently am. Level 10 is Split Enchantment. When you cast an enchantment spell such as Charm Person that can be cast with a higher level spell slot to a target an additional creature, increase the spell's effective level by 1. Is Command an enchantment spell? Command is an enchantment spell. Just for Command alone, that's great. It doesn't need to affect anything else. You only need Command. We're literally talking about nerfing it in our playgroup at the moment because players hate it being used on them, and even though as a DM you're playing multiple creatures, it still sucks when your last big bad or whatever it is just fails on that concentration saving throw, doesn't have legendary resistances, and then has to grovel. I think it's a tricky one though. I don't necessarily think it's overpowered. I just think it's almost always the correct choice, which is tough. And then level 14, you get Bolstering Belief. Your enchantments fortify your allies' bodies and minds. You always have the powered Fortify spell prepared. You can cast the spell without expending a spell slot, and each target of the spell has advantage on saving throws to avoid or end the charmed and frightened conditions while it has temp health granted by this spell. You can do this once per long rest. It's solid, it's just not very exciting. I don't know, man. If you want to go for enchantment spells, be a bard. Be the College of be the College of Glamour Bard. Why are you being a wizard, man? Why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? Necromancy! Man, I love necromancy in games. And yeah, we know about the Savant. Necromancy Spellbook is a new feature that incorporates a redesigned version of the prior Grim Harvest feature. Grave, Power, Undead Secrets, and Death's Master are all new features, and Undead Thralls have been redesigned to utilize the Summon Undead spell. It makes it a little bit simpler, but for the most part, that sounds like we're getting new stuff with a Necromancer, which is probably for the best. So yeah, Necromancy Savant, we're not going over. We covered it. You can't make me go back there. Legally, you're not allowed. Level 3, you also get Necromancy Spellbook. Secrets of Necromancy magic in your spellbook grant you additional powers. You have resistance to necrotic damage, solid, and when you cast a Necromancy spell using a spell slot, choose yourself or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you to gain temp health equal to the level of the spell slot plus your int modifier. That's pretty cool. You can bolster your summons or you can bolster yourself. I actually really like that. Level 6 is Grave Power. When you use Arcane Recovery, your exhaustion level, if any, decreases by 1. Man, exhaustion just isn't used that much in campaigns, I don't think. But if it is, then that's going to be great. And then damage from your wizard spells and wizard features ignores resistance to necrotic damage. Solid, because there are a few creatures with necrotic damage. So yeah, that's not bad. You also get Undead Thralls at level 6. You always have the Summon Undead spell prepared, and you can cast it once without expending a spell slot. When you cast Summon Undead without a spell slot, you regain hit points equal to half the summoned creature's total hit points. Doing so halves the creature's hit points. Once you cast a spell without a spell slot, you have the long rest first. That's interesting. It's interesting as a get out of jail free summon thing, especially if you can get something from your undead falling down again. It's fun. Undead Secrets. You've learned more secrets about the nuances of life and death. When you finish a long rest, you can expend a level 4 or higher spell slot to protect yourself from death until you finish a long rest. The next time you would drop to 0 hit points, your hit points instead change to 10 times the spell slot's level. Wow, that's a lot of health. That's most of a wizard's health pool if you use a high enough spell slot. Crikey. In addition, immediately after you take damage and are bloodied after taking that damage but not killed outright, you can take a reaction to teleport away. Goodbye. And you deal necrotic damage to the creatures you left behind. That's solid. Level 14, abstruse rituals within your spellbook allow you mastery over the forces of death. While holding your spellbook, you gain the following benefits. Bolster Undead. As a bonus action, you choose any number of undead you have created or summoned with a necromancy spell that are within 60 feet of you. Those undead each gain temp health equal to your wizard level. Once an undead gains temp health from this feature, it can't gain them again for 24 hours. And then Grim Harvest. When you use Grim Harvest, the creature that gains temp health gains one of the following benefits of your choice. Advantage on attacks or advantage on the next saving throw. Advantage on attacks is the correct choice there, right? Grim Harvest is the temp health thing from level 3. So yeah, advantage on attacks is nearly always going to be the correct choice there. I mean, it's a Necromancer. It feels like they're doing a bit more to really make it feel like a Necromancer, which is important for these subclasses. Summoner classes in D&D are just kind of tricky to design. I've been trying to figure out a good way to do a cleric that has different summons that you kind of get different attacks with. So you attack with each one on your turns, like extra attack style. And I just think it's hard to balance and also hard to manage in a session as a DM. And as a DM and as a player, it's stressful, right? But it seems interesting. And then finally, we have Transmuter Wizard. Again, Transmutation Savant, blah. Transmuter's Stone is now available at a lower level. You can create the stone when you finish a long rest. Wondrous Enchantment and Split Transmutation are new features. Potent Stone is a new feature that gives you more options with your Transmuter Stone, and Master Transmuter is revised. Its Panacea choice now restores hit points and can remove a curse. Savant, blah. Transmutators, goodness, Transmuter Stone. When you finish a long rest, you can create a magic pebble called a Transmuter Stone. Not an alchemist's stone, not a philosopher's stone, in fact. So, yeah. A creature with a stone in its possession can gain a benefit of one of the following options which you choose when you create the stone. Gives dark vision of 60 feet or increases it by 60 feet, 10 feet movement speed increase, proficiency in saving throws, that's really solid, and resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder damage you choose each time. That's pretty cool. Right, you can only have one stone at a time. I was like, can we just chain these bad boys? No. Wondrous Enhancement. You always have the Enhance ability spell prepared. You can cast it once without a thing, and the Enhance ability also gives advantage in saving throws with the ability. Well, I mean, it makes Enhance ability more usable, but I don't know that it makes it more worthwhile, really. Split Transmutation lets you target more spells. Target more creatures with transmutation spells, much like the enhancement thing we had, enchantment thing, sorry, we had above. It's good. Fly or haste, I believe, is transmutation as well, so that's solid. Potent Stone. Your stone is more versatile. You can choose 2 options when you create it. You can choose each option other than resistance only once. Okay, that's fun. Oh, and you can also change either or both benefits when you cast a transmutation spell using a spell slot, so you can switch things up on the fly. That's fun. And our final feature of this UA is Master Transmuter. As a magic action, you can consume the reserve of transmutation magic stored in your transmuter stone to choose one of the following benefits. After using your transmuter stone in this way, it crumbles to dust. Panacea. The bearer regains a number of hit points equal to twice your wizard level and ends accursed. Cool. Oh, that includes target's attunement to a cursed item. That's really useful. You can cast Raise Dead once without a spell slot. Also solid. And then the bearer permanently appears 3d10 younger. So no young adulthood. Appears. So it doesn't actually make them younger. It just makes them look younger. What a weird ribbon feature. Oh man, alchemy in D&D is such a cool concept, but I feel honestly like the philosopher from the Crooked Moon book does a far better job of kind of representing that as an idea than this one does. Let me know if you disagree, I guess. Overall, I think it's a fairly mixed UA. I like a lot of what it's going for. I don't like a lot of the execution, but I'm hoping that because this is a UA, some of these things will see the tweaks that they need to really stand out. I would just want spell slots for the monk. Just give me spell slots for the monk. If you're going to make a spell casting monk, just give them spell slots. Stop making it weird. Why are you making it weird? Anyway, I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so if you could subscribe and like this, that'd be great. I will see you next time. Goodbye.